Welcome to the Scientific Investor channel, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. And today, before we jump into what we are going to discuss and the viewpoints, charts, and news and XRP updates, which we will discuss through today, I would actually like to spread the words of wisdom from Howard Marks. Just a couple of seconds.
Says is you have to think of what you think will happen. You have to take action, but you have to be willing to wait that long period until it turns out to be correct action.
I mean, you also said what a wise man does in the beginning, the fool does in the end, which is, again, another way of saying the same thing.
Yes.
But,
well, the wise man is early.
Yeah.
And he has to wait.
But
So decide, guys, which one are you? Are you a wise guy or the opposite? If you want to be taking profits in this market, you have to understand what's happening. And now that's not only in terms of technical, but also in terms of fundamentals as well. Now, the fundamentals are ever becoming strong day by day, hour by hour. And I would like to take your attention through this. Now, this one is an article which I actually shared in yesterday's video. Now, this is a tweet from XRP Crypto Wolf showing India's Supreme Court strike down the central bank's ban against cryptocurrency. Now, yes, that is a big news considering the entire population of the country. But even if we consider, say, 10 to 20% of them just use cryptocurrencies, that is a huge amount. Now, at the same time, what you have to consider is as soon as this comes out, another news is popping out. The Mumbai-based exchange is now looking to conduct bank account transfers. Now, that is based on this crypto-friendly code ruling. So what you have to understand is they were actually preparing in the background as they already knew what is going to come. And as we know previously, Ripple, the company, and XRP, the digital asset, has been placed in India in such a way that 50% of the pipelines in banking will be using their networks. Now, this is the next one from Crypto Domingo, and I would like to actually play just 5 to 10 seconds of this video, which is actually a key.
During a crisis. What we know is that the amount of frozen capital in the world has gone up substantially. And so what we're trying to do from the World Bank side is unlock that capital.
Unlock that capital. How do you actually think they are going to unlock that capital? Because if they have to free that tied up frozen capital, most of them, as we discussed in previous video, we can actually see these videos here, which we actually take you through. Like at least these 3 videos, which actually focuses on much heavily on the XRP, the supply, and how it can be used to Vostro accounts. And a report from McKinsey stating $27 trillion are actually tied up in Nostro accounts around the world. So that is a huge capital. Consider that the GDP of many nations will not come 27 trillion. You can just take out US and China, so you will understand the size of that. Now there's the next one from I Am Legion, and he's actually showing you some ideas what is going to come up in next 2020. So which payment instruments will be dominating? Now, as you can see, digital currency is only 15%, but that only applies to other types of cryptocurrencies and assets. But if you actually look at what XRP can do, you can actually understand it can work behind the credit cards, debit card, contactless card, whatever you do, account transfer, it can be there, right? Now that takes us to the next one. Which form of payments will dominate cross-border one? The red one is showing you that the increase, right? And it is 77% increase in their growth. Now, when you look at the account transfer, it's also increasing. So when you actually look at that, what you have to understand is they are also showing you digital currencies like Bitcoin. But the key point here I would like to point out is in this digital currencies, just weeks before, say 2 or 3 weeks before, we actually came to understand that 54 million was being transferred from just US to Mexico using on-demand liquidity or XRP. So a big chunk of this is actually belonging back to Ripple and XRP. Now, if you actually look at Swift, it's actually coming down because if you see this is decreasing. So 28% just decreased. Now, the cash transactions are coming down, down, and down. Now, if you actually look at non wire transfers, they also are getting competition. The total amount is reducing. Even though they have the partnerships with Ripple, the company, it's still going down. Why? Because the shared ledgers and the intelligent protocol is taking on from there. Now guys, this is the next one tweet from GSL, and this is really giving me a perspective. Like, Brad Garlinghouse usually used to state, I'm long Bitcoin, that's a store of value, blah 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 shit. But now he's actually pointing out the energy consumption of BTC and ETH mining is a massive waste, and there is no incentive to take responsibility for carbon footprint. So absolutely, this isn't high on agenda for a growing climate crisis. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I look at this in a different way. Say, yes, I kind of agree with the guy. Say, for example, regulations are kind of prepared, and Brad knows about what is going to come. So he's kind of shifting his attention much from the mining sector to unmined sector. We can just state it like that, or just kicking out the proof of work and looking at the consensus one. Now, these are all coming out when the market is at what phase. That is what you have to understand, because if you look at the cycle, you can actually see A, B, C, D, and again repeat, right? So the rinse and repeat happens after the pump. If you actually look at this, the guys, the smart money as Howard just described here, comes in early. Now, yes, those who come early have to wait more time. I do agree with that. But if you actually look at this point, you can see 3 stages of accumulation. And in the accumulation at the end, you can also note that we are getting a kind of broadening wedge reversal pattern. Now, yeah, maybe this is just a coincidence, but still, we can actually see that kind of reversal pattern and a higher low pattern emerging slowly without much of a pace. But what you have to see here is the early accumulation, mid accumulation, and late accumulation. So there is 3 stages of accumulation, which happens a step higher, a step higher. That's not rally. That's just preparing for the rally or the markup. So that actually takes us back to the charts. Now, this is a shorter time frame chart because I wish to clear out the bearishness first and then move into the bullish aspects of the chart. This is a 30-minute XRP chart, and it is actually showing you that based on these patterns here, we do have a target which is still unachieved around 0.2 to 0.21. Now, yes, that's not just something we are dumping directly. If you actually go through the charts which I've been putting out lately, you can actually understand. For example, this particular breakout here, we actually call this way back, right? Those who have watched these videos here actually will understand what I'm saying. We were actually talking about this particular aspect, that it's going to play out and the target should be here. If you are shorting this market, then yeah, the expected target should be somewhere here, and expect 70 to 80% of that line. So we actually got that 70 to 80% of this particular target, and now we are consolidating. Why I'm showing the bearishness first? Because you also have to consider that this support resistance zone was actually kicking the price a bit down, but at the same time, if you consider the entire cycle, we made a new low here, and that new low actually leads us to new patterns. Like, if you consider this as a head and shoulder pattern, it's okay, it's valid. But within that head and shoulder pattern, you can actually see patterns within patterns, right? The trends within that pattern. We have something similar here, we have something similar here, and we expect something similar to go ahead. Now, yes, that is kind of a bullish news, but we also have to understand that we do have an overhead resistance support zone here through which we'll have to pass. Now, if we actually consider the market cycle as we told, then yeah, we tried that overhead resistance once, then came back below, and then the next bounce is towards the upper end of that resistance line. So if we consider that, then we should be coming above this area. That should be a bounce above, say, a point near to 0.4, 0.3 area, like we discussed in yesterday's video, and then coming back to retest this 0.3, 0.35 area and a bounce above. Now, this is Ethereum chart on 4 hour, and you can actually see a similar pattern to that of XRP. Say, for example, we are getting this broadening wedge, and we are now at the support level. It looks like the price is respecting those levels. Now, that is positive scenario, but this is a negative scenario for Ether. What you have to understand is we are getting this head and shoulder pattern here, which we just discussed here for XRP, and that actually played out in a negative way. It broke to the downside. We came till here. Now, if you are looking at this, you also have to understand that the target which we will be looking at for Ether will be somewhere around 150. Now, if that is going to play out, you have to understand that all coins kind of move together, and that can push the price of XRP even further down. So if that is going to happen, you should be careful. The price can actually move towards this range and complete this pattern here and then move up high. But as we discussed in yesterday's video, we do have instance when XRP doesn't actually do that. It kind of come till the 60% area and move to the upside. But that is just an area of caution there. Now for Ethereum, this is a daily chart, and if you look at this, you can actually understand we've been moving in this pattern. And now if we are not able to maintain this particular support resistance zone and move up high, this is going to come back down. Now that's where I actually get this 150 mark point and then move within this pattern, and we have to consider that unless we go above or be below this pattern, that's going to continue. Now there's a comparison between Ethereum and XRP on a daily, and you can actually see that the fluctuations here looks kind of similar. But what you have to understand is when Ether was actually traveling to the upside all these days here, say 247 plus 229 plus 29, we've been kind of stable here in XRP. We were kind of consolidating, boring, others are going high, just like what we had recently, right? We were kind of consolidating here. The pattern looks similar, but the price action that from the bottom, it actually went way higher, say, right? It went from 80 to 350, so that was in multiples of the fold of price. But do consider this, when we started, we ended that entire journey in 29 days, which for Ether took this long time to reach that top. But for XRP, it just did in a month, within a month. So guys, don't be, depressed based on the price, comparing it with other altcoins. Just look at the history, what we have done, what we have achieved previously. Be strong, because as Howard states, wise man should be there early and he should be ready to wait. Now that waiting and convincing yourself will be key in this. Guys, that's all for today, and I would like to request you guys again, if you received value from the video, please do support the channel, hit the subscribe button and the like button. I'll meet you guys on the next one. Bye for now.